streaming, and my camera and green screen are looking pretty good today. I think I've managed to tweak the settings enough so that there's no flickering. At least I can't see any flickering, so that's good. Um, I'd like to start with some review of what we did last time, yesterday, and also a little bit about what is coming up and that we need to do. So just a quick review. We have the admin panel that we created in previous sessions, and the thing that we added recently was this generate random cards, so that you can come and add a card by card and choose all of the different properties for the card. But if you just want to generate a whole stack of cards for testing purposes, it's a real pain to go one by one creating every single card. So you can just generate a bunch of random cards, and that's what I've done here. So we have a whole stack of different cards, and we've got edit, so you can go edit one of the cards. And then we started a little bit of work on the shop. So at the moment I only have the Angels purchase options, and you can choose the rarity and you choose the number of decks you want, and then you hit buy. But at the moment we don't have buy implemented. I think it was because we needed to make sure we could populate enough cards in the admin panel so that you could easily go ahead and buy stuff. So the next thing to do is work through these different list of points that I wanted to cover. So generate card data, yeah, we did that. Write prod code for the insert user cards. Okay, so we still have to do that. We need to finish the specs for the insert user cards, and we should add common as a rarity to the admin panel. So that means we can also generate or create random cards which are common. And yeah, we should add 2 bulk operations on the admin panel. So right now there's no delete. I think it would be a bit of a pain to go and delete each single item one by one. So we should have like a set of checkboxes down the side here, and you just check them, and then it brings up a couple of operations. One operation would be delete, and the other option would be assign a quantity of that card to a specific user. So that way, if we wanted to do some testing where, say, we needed a deck, we wanted to build a deck of 30 cards, and we wanted the specific cards in the deck, instead of going through the purchase, which would give you 5 at random and then 30 common, you could then here choose an exact set of cards that you want in your list, so that then you could build whichever deck is required for testing purposes. So I think once we've added those features, we may need pagination here, but I think we'll leave it for now, and we'll just let the data flow down the screen. I think once we finish those features, that's the very sort of basic first pass of a admin panel. I mean, there are other things that we'll need to add. So once we start to get into effects, we'll want to add effects when we create a card. Then we'll need some admin panel to manage effects, and then we'll probably want to generate effects as well, like random generate effects for the random generator. So let's check the shop. So The buy is the next thing to do, and that is related to this insert the user cards. So just before we get on to the code, let's have a look at some artwork. So I do have some recent things that were being worked on. Just bring this screen up here. Okay, so the other night I was showing you this screen. Just a second. Yeah, I was showing this screen the other night. So this one is the concept art for the collection view. So where you manage your cards and your decks with the filter at the top here. And another variation on that is this one. Just get rid of that one. So this one again is a slightly different design, I guess more detail, and also the right hand side is a little bit more detailed and has more like drawing behind it. So that's roughly the concept art for some of the interface that we'll be having, and this will be built in Godot, in the Godot game engine. But like I said earlier, we'll be building the prototype just in JavaScript and Crystal, so that we can test out the mechanics before we spend a lot of time building the mechanics into Godot. And plus, it's a lot quicker in the web app to play with things. Okay, I think that's enough explanation. Let's get to work. Alright, so we're on to buy. So to do a buy, we need to look at the front end code, which is on the shop. Deck purchase, that's a component. And we just do a post to API decks. So that means on the back end here we need a post API decks. Here's a post API decks. Yes, we're doing nothing at the moment. So now we need to go and add the chosen decks, rarity and quantity to a user. So we'll do this by looking at the repo. So this really is again a new repo, I think, that associates cards and users. This is like user card repo. So the users told us what they want, and we're going to take that list, generate some random cards from it, which I guess we'll just reuse this generate random cards approach. So we'll look at we'll look at all the cards that we've got in the cards repo and randomly select 5 from the rarity they've given us, and then we'll associate those cards with the user. Yeah, that sounds good. So I'm going to create a user card repo, I think. User card repo. Nope, not Mint. I mean Crystal, not Mint. User card repo. Okay, so let's require the database stuff, and then we'll have user card repo. Oh, helped us out there, that was nice. Oh dear, I can't type today. Okay, I need to find a fix, because when I do this I get this double def all the time. I mean, maybe if I just type initialize. Let's try that. Initialize. Yeah, that's what we want. And we'll bring in the connection, the rethink DB connection. So I did have some tea, but it's nearly all gone. That's the very last of it. Don't need anything there. So my voice is hurting a bit as well. I think I've been talking too much. Okay, so we'll insert a user ID, which will be a string, and also we'll have a card ID. Oops, a card ID, which will be a string, and then we'll have a quantity. We won't have a quantity, will we? No, not really. Because we'll say this is the card I want to associate. User ID, card ID. Actually, I think we will need a quantity here. Yep, we will. Okay. I don't know whether this should be a string, because we are passing it through. We're saying I want 5 of the rare type, and then I want, say, another 5. Well, I think the way I've got it set up here, I'd have to create each card as a unique card, which is a little bit wasteful. So if I wanted, say, an epic paladin, I would take one epic paladin here, say another epic would be this epic paladin. So I could take 5 epic paladins from here. Each one of those is a separate card. Or you could have more than one of the same card, which is also a possibility. But I think we'll start with having it unique, so that you always get 5 different unique cards, and then a selection of the different common cards. Yeah, I think I'll do that way. So in that respect, then we wouldn't have a quantity at this level. Because we create, say if I wanted 10 common cards. Yeah, the only issue is it doesn't allow this, the way I'm proposing to do this, wouldn't really allow for duplicates of the same card. Because card ID and the user ID is like a join table, it maps the two together. An alternate approach is just to add them to the user repo, like add an extra bit of data onto the user's document, with a list of all with a map of the card ID to the quantity. So yeah, or the quantity would go here. No, let's do it this way. Let's do the quantity here as an int 32. Because really we do want to default it to a quantity of 1 and then allow more of that quantity to be created. So I think having duplicates is, is going to happen. Okay, so we got to check if the user exists. Users. Let's look at user ID. Okay, let's check if the card exists. Oops. So the other way to do all of this stuff is to have one huge document instead of a few separate documents. So we'd only run that connection once, which may be cheaper, but we're not really about performance in this case. We just want something robust which will allow us to test out the mechanics. Oops. So I don't know what's up with my internet connection. The last few days my stream's sort of been interrupted by having a network error. So I'm hoping that doesn't happen today. Okay, so let's create a new user card, and that will take the user ID, the card ID, and the quantity of that card. So this would be the user card. Oops. And then we'll go and try and insert it. Table user card. Insert the user card to H, and then run the connection. And then we'll get the result back. So from user card, get result, generated keys, get the first one, run the connection. Okay, and then DB success. Ooh. DB success. Ooh. .new, and then we'll take the user card from JSON result to raw to JSON. Okay, and then the else condition will have a DB failure. Sorry, could not insert or could not associate the card with the user. Okay, so that's insert. Let's go write a spec for insert. Spec, this is going to be, what did I write here? User repo, user card repo. Yes. So I was already writing this spec, which is great. Yeah, well, look, I've put the quantity here already. Fantastic. User ID, card ID, quantity. Let's just say 1 for now. And we should be getting a card back. Well, maybe not. When we insert it, maybe we want... Do we need a card back? Well, I guess we're not really going to do anything with the result, so a card's fine. User repo. What am I proposing to return here? It's going to be a DB success of a user card or a DB failure. User card, let's see. In domain, yeah, let's create a user card in domain. I guess a bit like this. This is a user card. It's got an ID, and then it's got a user ID. It's got a card ID, which is a string. It's got a quantity, which is a int 32, and then user ID, card ID, quantity, and ditch all of the other stuff here. Again, this is going to be user ID, user ID, card ID, and quantity. Okay, that's our user card, and now we'll move on to running this test. So actually we said that we should get back a user card here and a user card, and we should have a card ID of card underscore ID. Yeah. Let's run that. Gtest. Oh, I need to create the database. How does that work? User card repo. User card repo insert. Did I create the database already? I don't think I did. Database. Nope, I didn't. This should have not worked here. User card repo. User card repo. not convinced this test ran. Does not seem to be running. No, it's not running. Why are you not running? User card. Oh, I know why. I didn't call it spec. User card. Repo spec. Okay, and the local card. Where's card? User ID, card ID. Yeah, I just plucked these out of thin air. I need to create a card. Where's the card repo spec? Add card. Okay, existing card. I'm going to call this one just card. Now it has a chance of working. Result on 22. Yeah, this should be result. Okay, great. Yes, that's what I was expecting. The table doesn't exist because I didn't create it yet. This is user card. And yes. We need to go and create that. So GDB, that's going to recreate the dev database. GDB test is going to recreate the test database. Alright, so now in theory this should work. I'm just going to increase the size of this a bit. Okay, awesome. So now we can insert a relationship between a user and a card. But now we've got to actually do it in 2 stages. So I think it may make sense to do it here. So if I was to say def, I don't know, what should I call it? I want to create all of the cards. I also want to generate some cards as well. Create cards. No. Create cards for user. So in Crystal, we use this kind of syntax structure for names, but in Mint we use this kind of camel case. And switching between the two, sometimes I get them mixed up. Well, in Crystal for classes we use the capitalized approach. Okay, create cards for user. So here we'd say we'll take a user ID, and I think we'll just do the generation in the util and then pass the resulting list of card IDs, maybe a pair of card ID to quantity. Yeah, I think that would make sense. Maybe a type even would be nice there. So maybe this would be an array of card quantity or something. And we have the card ID and the quantity. I guess that's more of a card related thing. Let's make this a card quantity. Initialize. Let's give it the at card ID at yes, that'd be a string and the quantity in 32. Okay, that's all I need for that really. Okay, so user card repo, create cards for user would take an array of card quantity. What would it return? I guess we'll just return the success or failure. And what should I return? This could return just the number of items in the array, perhaps, that were successfully inserted. I don't know. Okay, so create cards for user. Oh yeah, so now we need to do some random generation. So I think in util we've got a card generator. So it's deck rarity and quantity. But we don't want to generate them here. Here we want to look them up. So probably we want to just do it in just inline here, I guess would be fine. So I'm not going to bother checking the user because it'll happen on the insert. Same for the card. And if some fail, is that a big problem? Maybe not. Let's not worry about it. Create cards for user. So first of all, we want to get a list of all the cards, and then we want to randomly select 5. Okay, let's get all the rare. Let's get all the cards by the rarity, by the deck and the rarity, and then we'll pick 5 at random from those, and then the rest we'll fill in with common cards. So we're going to struggle with that because at the moment we can't create common cards. So I'll just use any card for now. And the any card, if the card that we generate is already in the list, then we need to just increase the quantity. Okay, let's make a note because it's Friday night and I'm pretty tired after a week of work, so I'm probably going to make a whole lot of mistakes here. So let's see. So step 1 is iterate the... this needs to have a name. So this is card quantities. Iterate the card quantities, and then for each of the card quantities we want to say find the so card quantity is only going to have card ID, so we need to find the rarity. So I need more than just the card ID. If I want to do everything inside here, I'm going to need to know more than that. So when I arrive in purchase decks, what have I got? I've got the deck, the rarity and the quantity. So the next step is to say okay. It's always good to say okay. So we'll take the deck and the rarity, so we have those two, and then the quantity is actually the number of decks in this case. So if we said purchase 1 deck of angels at rare, then when we come to user card repo, we really want to know the deck and the theme, the deck and the rarity, and then after that the quantity, the number of decks. Yeah, so I think I'll just do it all inside here. So instead of an array of card quantity, we actually want to say what is the deck. So deck, for example, could be an enum or something like that. We haven't got there yet. We're just all stringly typed so far. But we'll definitely refactor this and use a lot more types. Instead of string and deck, this could be a type, which is a deck. Rarity could be another type, like an enum or something. Okay, so and user ID also could be a type, like a tiny type, just holding the user ID. And those types just help us to know what things to pass in, because when it's a string, you don't know really what that string represents. It doesn't tell you. A string is any string, but a deck enum would be one of these types, so it's clear. Anyway, iterate the card quantities, find the rarity. Yeah, so we would have a deck, a rarity, and let's ditch card quantities for a second. Instead we'd have number of decks that's required. Okay, great. So let's work this out again. For each deck, in number of decks, we'll iterate and we'll say create me, look up all the cards for the deck and rarity. For each deck that we want, we'll look at all the cards, the deck and rarity, and then we'll say I want to select out of those, select a random 5. Okay. And then look up all the cards. I wonder if there's, RethinkDB has any sort of random thing built in, so that you could pick from the collection at random instead of pulling the whole collection out. So that would be on get filter. That's seeing random. What's this? Generate random number between, take 0 or two arguments. Let's see if this helps. Random R100 run. Random float true run. Sample. What's sample? Select a given number of elements from a sequence with uniform random distribution without replacement. If the sequence has less than the requested number of elements. Okay, great. So I think we could probably do a query and then just say sample 3, and it would take what we want out of the query. So that way we're pushing the work onto Rethink instead of pulling everything out into Crystal, into memory. So sample, that's something to remember. Using Rethink DB's sample API. Okay, then look at all the cards for look up all the common cards and select 25 at random using sample API again. Okay, so now we'll have, for each deck we'll have picked out 30 cards. So now for each of those cards we want to insert each card into the user card table. I wonder if the random 5 selection gives you unique, whether you can have 2 of the same. I didn't really pay attention. With a uniform random distribution. What is a uniform random distribution? What does that mean exactly? Uniform distribution. Oh, that's a little bit too mathematical. I don't really know if this means it'll have duplicates or not. Does random uniform distribution contain duplicates? I don't really know. Okay, never mind. We'll worry about that later. Right now, we'll assume it doesn't give you duplicates, which is fine. Because if you bought another deck later on, then you might find duplicates in your existing set. Okay, so before we insert into the user card table, or while we're doing it, check to see if relationship already exists. If yes, there you go. If yes, increase quantity and by 1. If no, insert relationship. So I think that will do what we want. So for each, when we go to purchase the, we go to the shop and we say, give me 20 decks of legendary angels. We'll come in here for each of those decks, say 20, we'll loop 20 times. We'll get all of the legendary angel cards. We'll select 5 of them from random. We'll look at all the common cards, get 25 of those at random, and then we'll insert the cards into the user table. Actually, first we'll check to see if the relationship already exists for that pairing, and then we will, if yes, we'll just increase the quantity for that card relationship, and if not, then we'll insert a new relationship. And so we'll go around and do that 20 times, or however many decks there are. I think that's it really. So let's write a test for that. So user card, we post spec, create cards for user. So let's say describe create cards for user. So here it should create a new create cards for a user for the specified number of decks, deck, theme and rarity. That's the first one. The second one is if user already has one of the card relationships, then the quantity should be incremented. So the first one is where there's no relationships, and the second one is where we're just increasing the quantity because the card relationship already exists. They're the two happy path scenarios, I think. So in order to do this, we're going to have to generate some data. So the first thing is we're going to need the user. Maybe I'll abstract this user creation into a function somewhere. I wonder if I can put it up here for the moment. Create user. I would need to pass in the user repo to do it right here. Let's try this. This is going to return the user, which is this user here. So create user can replace all of this stuff. I'll just say user is create user. Maybe I also pass in the email. And I think we'll just default that to this guy. Actually, I think we shouldn't default it. Email. Yeah, let's not default it just because it'll already exist and we don't clear it down between describes. We just keep going within the same we clear down the database once and then we run all the tests. Right, so did that break anything? Let's run this. Oh yes, I got to pass the repo. Looks good. Yeah, pretty good. So we want a user. Let's call this user test user 2. Now we need a whole stack of cards. Maybe create user, I should move out into the helper. Yeah. There we go. Should still work. Okay, so next we want to check. Yes, we need to create a whole stack of cards next. So that's going to be, we've got an add card. We've also got this generator. I think the card generator is what we want. Yes, it is what we want. Or could I use the API? Because I did build an API here which says generate, you just give it a post. So I could just use the app's endpoint itself. You know what, I'm not going to bother, I'm going to do it in the database itself. I'm going to use the underlying stuff. It's just easier and quicker. Yeah, right, let's stick it here for now. So create a random cards, and we'll say how many cards do we want. We want a quantity of a number, and then we'll say which deck should it be from, and we'll say what rarity should it be from, and this will generate us an array of what? Card quantity maybe? No. I think I'm going to ditch card quantity. Doesn't look like we're going to need that now. We need something we can insert. What does add card take? Add card. Yeah, I think we just want to do this. Card repo insert. Which means we don't really care about the result. I think we'll just do it all in the same spot here. So let's just give it back an int32. Okay. So we want to generate. Where's the util? Let's say card generator dot new dot generate deck rarity quantity generator dot new deck rarity quantity. What does the card generator take as a quantity in 32? And then generate returns an array of card. Okay, so that's the card generator. And well, let's just map around this. So this would be giving us back a card. Yeah, it's giving us back a card. So card repo insert, and we'll let's call this C. So we'll already have everything generated off the card here. We know it's angels, we know it's rare, because that's what we asked for, but you know, we can just take it from here anyway. And again, this is mana, health, and attack. Okay, so we insert a whole stack of cards based on what we give it. Let's give that a go. So this would be creating the whole set of cards, create random cards, and I guess we'll just start with angels. Hey, can't just type angels. Now angels. Let's say epic, and let's say just we want to create. Actually, it wants everywhere else. I put the quantity last, so I don't know why I put it first in that case. I'm just going to do it last. Alright. So what we're saying here is one card. We're going to create one card. In the Angel Epic space. Okay, so now we want the user card repo dot create cards for user. And then we want user ID, deck, rarity, number of decks. User ID, let's say Angels, Epic, number of decks, let's say one deck. So one deck means we're going to need, let's create more than we need, so 10 of those. And we also need some common. We don't have any common, so let's use well, actually, if I just call this common, would that just create me a whole stack of common? It would. Yes, it would. Okay, let's do it. Common. But common doesn't. On a sec. No. Angels. It's the rarity that's common. So we're going to need 25. Let's make more than we need 50. And then create user. So user ID, Angels, Epic, and one deck. That should give us a result. This result should be the number of cards inserted. So result, first of all, should be a db success int 32, and then result dot value as int 32. Should equal, so we should have added 32 cards. So one deck, no, sorry, 30 cards. One deck is 30 cards. And then we should go and check the relationship. So then we should say, go look up all the cards a user has and check they match what we created. Yeah, so once we've created all the cards for the user, it's going to say, hey, yeah, I created 32 of them. So then we go and look up and say, give me all of the cards for this user. And we'll just check that we've got what we expect. Oh, dear me. Definitely feeling tired today. All my teas run out. Got no more. Oh, I do have very little bit of, what's this? Orange and passion fruit. Okay. What have we got? We've got enough to do the initial test. Let's go here. Let's just return a DB success. Dot new, and we'll just put 1 in there. Right, so this should fail. Map. Oh yes, I forgot to say generate. Dot generate. Now we should get a failing test. Oh, code repo spec line 6. Yeah, this needs the card repo. This is a card repo. Does it need anything else? No, that's fine. So generate random cards, card repo. Alright, here we go. So now we should, oh, type of synthesis not array DB failure success card. So that's card repo spec 4, create random cards. Yep, pretty close to having a passing test or a failing test. So right now this gives us back int 32. And we get back an array of failure or success. Yeah, that's right, because we go around the whole lot. And so yeah, so what we could do here is, after we've done all that, we could just say give me the size. Okay, failing test coming up. Yeehaw! Expected 30, got 1. Okay, this is progress. So now we have to do this. I mean, of course, here I could just go and type 30. And that would make the test pass, and then I'd have to go and make some changes to the test so that I couldn't just type 30 in here. That's how test-driven development works. So when there's two people pairing, working on the code together, if one is writing the test and one's writing the production code, then you do the simplest thing possible first. So the simplest thing here to make this pass would be to stick 30 in here. So if I was doing the production code, I'd say, hey, I made it pass, look. And we'd run the spec and we'd see, hey, everything's passing. And then I would go hand it back over to the test writer, and they would say, okay, let me change this test a bit so that you can't just hardcode 30 into the result. But since there's only me here, I'm going to skip that step and just keep going. Right, so let's try and get this to work. So 1 up to number of decks. Now, do I need to map here? Yeah, mapping's going to be fine. Okay. Right, I need to look at all the cards for the deck and the rarity. So let's say our table cards filter. We want deck to be deck. We want rarity to be rarity. So that's all the cards I'm going to get, and then we want to sample 5 out of there, and then run this connection. Okay, so this is this is the rarity cards. That's my 5. And now I want all the common cards, so I'm going to say the same thing. Common cards are table cards, filter deck. Now, I haven't decided yet, we haven't talked about yet whether common cards